Hi class. So for modules 11 and 12, informal video discussion, the questions are, what is the difference between a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing? Do these two processes work together, and if so, how? Why is it important to use both when building a strong cybersecurity strategy? Sorry, my throat is a little scratchy. So, on page 481 of the ebook, the authors discuss vulnerability assessment and remediation. The primary goal of the vulnerability assessment and remediation domain is to identify specific documented vulnerabilities and remediate them in a timely fashion. This is accomplished by the following: using documented vulnerabilities assessment procedures to safely collect intelligence about internal and public networks, platforms including servers, desktops, and process control and wireless network systems. Documenting background information and providing tested remediation procedures for reported vulnerabilities. Tracking vulnerabilities from the time they are identified until they are remediated or the risk of loss has been accepted by an authorized member of management. Communicating vulnerability information, including an estimate of the risk and detailed remediation plans to the owners of the vulnerable system. Reporting on the status of vulnerabilities that have been identified, ensuring that proper level of management is involved in deciding to accept the risk of loss associated with unrepaired vulnerabilities. So, vulnerability assessment is defined as the process of identifying and documenting specific and provable flaws in the organization's information asset environment. There are 4 common vulnerability assessment processes, which include Internet VA, Intranet VA, Platform Security Validation, and Wireless VA. While these exact procedures associated with each can vary, these 4 processes can help many organizations balance the intrusiveness of vulnerability assessment with the need for a stable and effective production environment. Some organizations pursue a strategy of monthly vulnerability assessment that involve all 4 processes. Others perform an intranet vulnerability assessment every week and rotate the other 3 processes on a monthly or quarterly basis. These choices depend on the quantity and quality of resources dedicated to vulnerability assessment. And for penetration testing is defined as a set of security tests and evaluations that simulate attacks by a hacker or other malicious external sources. It says penetration testing is a level of sophistication beyond vulnerability testing. A penetration test or pen test is usually performed periodically as part of a full security audit. In most security tests, such as vulnerability assessment, great care is taken not to disrupt normal business operations. But in pen testing, the analyst tries to get as far as possible by simulating the actions of an attacker. Unlike the attacker, however, the pen tester's ultimate responsibility is to identify weaknesses in the security of the organization's systems and networks, and then present findings to the system's owner in a detailed report. So, do these 2 processes work together? If so, how? I would say that they do work together. One is just a little more invasive than the other, or much more invasive than the other. It says that great care is taken not to disrupt the normal business operations for a vulnerability assessment. Vulnerability assessments, they can help many organizations balance the intrusiveness of vulnerability assessment with the need for a stable, effective production environment. So this is going to be something that is just like a monthly management type thing, whereas a penetration test is going to be much more invasive. Why is it important to use both when building a strong cybersecurity strategy? So it is important to use both because ultimately the goals for both strategies are the same: to ensure a secure cybersecurity strategy and a secure network. It is important to use both when building a strong cybersecurity strategy because a vulnerability assessment is on a more of a small scale that can be implemented more often than a penetration test. A penetration test should not be implemented as often as a vulnerability assessment, but more periodically to catch the organization's personnel off guard in order to expose greater vulnerabilities. That's all I've got. Thank you.